Hello and welcome to HCD robustness meeting. Today is August 13th, and we can start from reviewing things that happened since the last meeting. A previous normally planned meeting was cancelled, but so the last one was a month ago, which means a lot of things happen. It's hard for me even start. But I think the best thing to start off is if you have any topic, please, or any questions or anything related to HCD robustness or antithesis testing, please post your questions. We are here to discuss and help make HCD more reliable. So yeah, so if you have any topic, please always feel free to bring it.
So I actually didn't have a chance to put my topic here, but I think there's an initiative to give access to the debugging utility and antithesis debugging utility. I'm not sure, Marcus, you have any news on that? I think we have since our attempt on the integration, I think we have found a lot of bugs, and I think it would be easier to figure out or reproduce the bugs.
Yeah, that's I can answer this. So yeah, our debugger, it's like officially called the multiverse debugger, and that's currently behind SSO. But we are working on GitHub authentication to I guess put the multiverse debugger behind that. And for a timeline on the GitHub auth, when that should be complete is probably, I would guess, a month from the engineering team. We would be able to authenticate customers from GitHub auth. So if that is the case, then we could give you guys access to the multiverse debugger.
Cool. Do we have any workaround to use that tool in the meantime with a different authentication, or perhaps you can invite some of us to the tool?
Yeah. So for like a different method of authentication, like we need the customers to be tied to one IDP. And like we could do, I think there's a way to do it with like a Google something, but then it wouldn't be accessible by like the other public people who are interested. And that would include reports as well. So that route's kind of hard to go down if we want to keep everything public. But the thing that we could do is we could do like a screen share with me, and like you just tell me what commands to do or what you think would be interesting to run.
Yeah, I think I can work with you on some of the issues. It's
Sure.
probably
Yeah.
hard for Joshua because I think it's like 2 a.m. in morning his time.
Okay, so right now it's 2 a.m. for you, not?
I'm like it's like 1 p.m. my time, but like for Joshua, I think he's in Indonesia or Singapore. I'm not sure where you are.
I'm in Singapore. Yeah, it's 2 a.m. But no worries.
Yeah. Okay.
I took a nap early. No worries.
We could set up a meeting that's for like multiverse debugging specific, and like have everyone join, and we could try some things.
I think I can work with that. Like if it's early in the morning.
Sure.
We can, yeah.
Actually, why can't we do it during the robustness meeting, or like I feel like most of us are going to be here.
Yeah, okay. Is there a specific one that you would want me to spin up right now, so maybe we could try to do it towards the end of this meeting?
There are a bunch of issues in the LCD. I mean, I haven't taken a look about any of them. What about you, Nant?
I haven't didn't come prepared with one. I was having an impression that we could have the access, so it's like I can pick and choose whenever I want to do it. Um, we if we are having like a screen share session, I guess we can just maybe we can do it next time we have the robustness test. But in the meantime, I guess like having once a week, our band meeting specifically just to look at some of the issues that have been produced by antithesis. I think that's probably going to be a good idea.
I see. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Plus one to what was said. We previously had such a session. Like from my experience, I'm not 100% like I prefer what Nant mentioned,
Yeah.
like being able to have access and do it in your free time, because I know from time to time I find myself having a free time and thinking about some issue and I could look up, but like having a dedicated session, it's much harder to debug. And also, yeah, I also don't have huge like from me personally, I don't have huge experience with debugging or debugger tools. I mostly worked through like still very naive printing, but let's say I'm pretty good at it enough that I debugged all the previous issues without any problem. But I debugged it on basically doing it on my own time. So basically I modified the tests for or modified etcd binary with the needed debug information and started dumping it and running enough cases to reproduce it, and that was very fast to iterate. On the other hand, debugger is a tool that is most advanced but much less approachable, at least for our cases where there is no bug in single place. It's a sequence of events that could be like seconds between that lead to the issue. So like snapshotting in a single place doesn't give you any information. You need a full history, and we didn't manage and to script that in the universe debugger is non-trivial for me. And it's the same as you would run like remote debugging of it is very slow because it's a lot of guessing and iteration, and like doing it through other person is pretty slow. So I'm still like, I'm very hopeful and waiting for the access. I think that was one of the limitations of antithesis that we identified very early on. So like the current feedback is we got what we wanted from reproduction, but from debugging we are like still crawling like babies because we cannot move forward.
I guess the state, if I understand correctly, is we could we know the bugs, like it exists, like a particular bug exists, but we don't have a way to reproduce it.
Locally,
I guess.
We don't have a way to reproduce it locally, which makes it useless, like information that the bug exists. Because also you need to account for the bug exists under certain conditions of failure injection, and it doesn't mean that this failure injection or this validation is even correct. So you still need to do a simple triage of, is it issue with the etcd or is it issue of how we test etcd? And that was the main challenge, like in robustness test. The only benefit now is that we we polished robustness tests that we don't expect false positives, but they still happen. So yeah, like knowing that some failure exists doesn't mean anything until you know what exactly happened and what leads to the issue, and even whether the issue can even exist in real production scenarios. We had cases where it would be impossible. Like we had cases that where there were bug in etcd, and it would never happen in any Kubernetes cluster because it doesn't make this type of request ever. And the request itself was a little bit nonsensical. Like example of that was compacting on the linearizable revision. So you'd never compact because it's a race between revision, like writes and compaction. And logically, compaction is something that you do on a window of 5 minutes. So that's why it was never like tested or even like considered for um, race. But we found the bug. Like in the best case, we don't have those like crazy edge case. Like we don't have bugs in those crazy edge cases, and we want to fix them. But it doesn't mean they are even like relevant for any user. It just we should not have bug, but we also, when we have a bug, we need to know what is the impact and not assume it's a war like it affects everyone and it's horrible.
So is there anything I could do on my side to like give you guys more information around these three issues that are open? Like I could do the bug report for each of these issues that I think might be helpful. And like stitching together the fault injector logs can sometimes be tedious and like a little bit confusing, but I like even if like you were to understand that like okay like 5 seconds before this bug hit like we had like packet slowdown, like how would that help with debugging?
You look at places that control like touch packets, like
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
It's mostly like debugging is also like it's a search space. You
Right.
you try to eliminate things early and focus on the things that you haven't confirmed or ruled out, and slowly you like the more like if you have experience, you just like can cut the tree earlier or like and do longer jumps in logic, but it's still like searching space of possible bugs. uh, so like from my point of view, each bug is a little bit unique and different, and the bugs that we started like that I listed here and we found in the between are different than any previous bug. So I don't even know how to start like debugging them really. I can go into more detail, but I don't fully expect we will be able to debug them without like the access. And we would need to be a little bit lucky. I mean, at the beginning, also with robustness, I think I was lucky to find first time how to debug such issues. So maybe we need to get lucky again.
Okay. Just in case it might help, I'll run the bug reports on these three issues and then tag them on the on GitHub for you guys, and maybe taking a look at that might point towards some code part. But I'll also re-express to the engineering team that GitHub authentication would be very useful for you guys for this case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
There is like no sense of rushing them. It's just like like we can wait. It's just like it's the main blocker. So if they know we are blocked on them, that should be enough.
Okay.
The one I would want to propose something here. So I think for the product perspective, maybe it's going to be a good idea. I'm not sure how possible that is, but if the report can provide a like reproducing step that will be like good for the product overall, right? Like, you found a bug and then you also provide like what actually leads to um, the actual bug. Um, that's probably like far in the future. But for now, I guess we can still do that manually. Like we can have a separate session with you, Marcus,
Sure.
to um, look at the report without the reporting using step. With you having the access to the tool, we can try to find like, okay, for each of the bugs, what's the way to reproduce them, um, and then put it on the GitHub issue. At least that would help other contributors to like have a look, and then um, they have more info, and then they can take action on. I'm not sure if you all agree with that.
Right. So I do agree, but it might be hard to tell someone the steps that we took to be able to reproduce the bug locally. It's like the way that antithesis works, it's like the series of inputs that we would inject in our environment to lead to the bug might not be the same series of inputs that you could do locally that would lead to the bug, if that makes sense. Since
Yeah.
they're running on different machines and like one thread interleaving might completely change the outcome of what happens at the end of the input. So it's quite hard to I guess
We
like
don't have
give
to
you
go that
guys
far either. We can also at least have a better idea of what leads to
Sure,
the
yeah, yes, yeah, okay, then I'm in agreement with you, like the manifestations or what like would cause the bug to likely happen, like things like that, that might key in on the reason that it is manifested.
Yeah, I think the
Okay,
breadcrumb. We
yeah, okay.
may or may not be able to reproduce it without a special tool, but at least like maybe there's going to be some like if I'm available, maybe I can also do something trying to simulate that kind of like interleaving as well, and that may be just like one
Okay.
of the thing that we can do, but at least have the idea of like what leads to that point. I think that's going to be a big win for now.
Yep, alright, let me, I can do some stuff on my side, and for each of the bugs, I'll, I guess, provide to you the best breadcrumbs that I can for how they came to be.
Yeah. So let me maybe give you some context, and like my side of this story is how we a little bit difference, and fact that like how the current situation is different than before is it in the word of robustness is it was much easier, or at least manageable by me, by the fact that we knew exactly what happened during the test. So when we find a bug like this that we
Mm-hmm.
found, when we found it in robustness tests, like I mean, first breadcrumb is the report. Like you have the
Sure.
report, and if it's issue with watch or issue with linear usability, you know around which request, which revisions it happened. So we can look at this like short thing, or you know what fail point happened around the time. So that was the first thing. So the main like first work of the issue is always how we can reproduce, and that's what like non hit on the nail is how we can make the issue uh, easier to or investigation easier to scale up. So usually I did it by dumping the issue, giving as much information to others as I have, and finding the perfect like the best reproduction. And this is a little bit like in this issue we only had like the first issue, first like top or first comment only introduce I have this information, this issue, and then I invite everyone to take a look and maybe investigate and upload the report, and then the
Mm-hmm.
investigation starts. So then like I can highlight interesting things, interesting parts, something incorrect that behavior. And one of the things with robustness is you not never have you also don't have reproducibility. Like you don't have perfect reproducibility. You just do a basically correlation search. So if issue reproduces like the main benefit, if it reproduces, if the issue reproduces in some scenario on robustness tests, I can take like in robustness tests we run like 10 or 20 scenarios. I can pick this exact scenario. So maybe I have a separate scenario that injects network failures. So I can eliminate every other scenario that does anything else, and I can just run the scenario that runs network failures. So I correlate the finding with what I did locally, and I run it enough that I can find a reproduction. And when I find the reproduction, then I can do another iteration on, and by eliminating things that don't matter. So I can eliminate requests that don't matter or traffic that doesn't matter. So I can remove, I don't know, put requests if they don't matter. I can remove compaction requests if they don't matter. So I try to eliminate as many things that don't contribute to the issue, and make the issues that contribute to it stronger. And at that point, when I have a pretty well reproduction way, I can post it as a full command to other people or a PR. Like I usually, I don't know if I have it here. I usually post a dedicated PR or like we go into confirmation. Like here, for example, we confirm that the issue exists based on the logs that we generated additional. And I even reproduced it without it. Yeah, PR with attempted reproduction. So basically things like that. Created just PR. It could be a branch, easier to PR because people can comment. So for example, change the things that don't shorten the test, make it on specific release, add like some configuration, add additional logging, and run it again and again. And in this case, I run. This is case of branch that I run against for antithesis. So I added a lot of additional logging and assertions that to give more context and more precise reports. And that was like that's high level like the way. So you start. First step is usually you dump all the information that you have from the failure in the CI, and then you try to analyze and correlate issues until you find a probable reproduction. And when you have probable reproduction, you know what happened and didn't happen, and what contributes to issue or issue to and what not. And then you can confirm based on the code or maybe your like behavior whether it is you can triage it. Finally, you can say, oh, this is an issue, like this shouldn't happen. And then when you know exactly what happened and when it happened, you can ask people, hey, like where's, like we can try to root cause it, like why it like find the bug in the code. So there is a huge number of steps even before you start fixing the bug, is to confirm it really exists and what correlates to it before even like starting to write like bug fixing.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so I think I understand, or I do understand non-satisfying. So that was helpful.
And Josh and Nont, any like thoughts or comments? Because we could call it breadcrumbs. Like that would be a breadcrumb. Like, oh, we did network failure injection and not slowdown of CPU. We did this. We disrupted this, but didn't disrupt this. This is like huge for debugging.
I think that would be the good next step for now. I'm not sure if you want to include like the state of the runtime. Maybe that's already in the record. I can't remember, but anything that would affect anything that would affect etcd and cause that failure, we probably want to have like all information about it.
Right. So, I might misunderstood something in the debugger, in the antithesis debugger, we're not able to see what failure is being injected, is it?
So-
Sorry.
I mean, if you look at even a report and you pick
Yeah.
one of the failures, you have all information what is happening there. Like I think I meant maybe I wrote it on one of the issues, or I didn't get to one thing with. So I even wrote one of the issues. You have logs, like those, and those logs mean something, and antithesis tells us something, but we don't know what. Like, oh, it did X. What X means? Like, what does it mean to set parallelism? What does it mean this? And we don't know. Like we like when I think I think about like small simple categorization from my point of view. I had this IP, I had that IP, I broke connection between. I lost a packet, but this is not understandable for like from me from antithesis. Robustness just says I broke connection between this member and this member.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
understand. I guess that's a good step to like categorize if like what action is like the set parallelism limit is creating which type of error. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
If you check the source that output text is coming from, it's coming from the test composer driver, which is just basically deciding what driver to run, that being either the singleton or the finally. So that's what the parallelism set to infinity is. Should be source, yeah. So the antithesis test composer was the thing that has the
Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of noise, not a lot of information or any wisdom. Like that's the problem on.
Yeah, so like fault injector visualization has been an ask from other customers before. And it's something that our engineering team is working to build out for you guys. In the meantime, there's like not really much I can do for the visualization aspect other than like create a log viewer that has the logs that might be confusing. But we can still, I guess, stitch together what is happening at what time. So I think it might be helpful for the breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna provide all that to you guys for the 3 bugs that are out, and hopefully we can correlate something to a specific fault or a specific event.
Sure, like we don't need UI. Like UI is the next step. We need like information, like simple, like even information or someone to parse like I know documentation or someone to explain some way to explain if there is a fault that happens 1 per million runs, what is the unique part of this? What is the unique thing about this run that made this happen? And it could be even one information. We've in all other runs we didn't do network disruption. In this run we did network disruption, and that would be enough. Like that would be even like that's the goal. Like what is unique in this run versus all other, or what correlates with this reproduction, this failure. And you've showed similar like things and tools, but it was never like it never how I would say it, it's never it showed the time when the bug happened, but never told us what antithesis did uniquely to make this bug happen. Which basically observe like having better visibility of what antithesis is doing is basically what we need. Because the main thing on robustness test, when we control everything and we can run the test on everywhere, this is like more flexible and more and having visibility has a huge advantage here. Of robustness test basically says I start doing X, I run the pods, I start doing X, and X is simple thing. I like crashed pod 0, and sometimes you can see in the antithesis like it says like it killed some process, but I don't know, like there is a lot of noise here that is not that I don't know how to like parse. There is too many information and not enough, too much data, not enough information.
Sure, yeah, I can bring this feedback to our notebook UI team to let them know that there's a lot of noise. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
The ultimate, I think the ultimate ask here is we want to know about the fault. If we can be more precise about the fault itself, the better to resolve the issues. Yeah. Either it's going to be noises, or if we can be clearer sometime about like the actual fault, I think that's going to help.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I can get that to you guys.
Thanks, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks for that. One thing I forgot, and I meant one of the main principles for the robustness test is fact that closing of the bugs doesn't finish on writing the fix. It finishes on having a full reproducible scenario, which means we add a command. After we fix a bug, we add a command that can reproduce it, and which means there is a dedicated command that will run a specific configuration that is hard coded for this specific issue. So, for example, with the issue like 13766, maybe we can look at it. Am I good with finding things, or I'm horrible? It should be scenarios. So we have a dedicated scenario that we run that will only focus on crashing at CD, will only focus on high traffic, so higher load, but it eliminates like other methods, and only focus on put methods, and will configure etcd to run 100 like snapshot count specific. So this is specific for reproducing. Why? Because those were breadcrumbs or things that correlated, that were the breadcrumbs of how do we reproduce this bug, and that was used to as step-by-step finding how we can reproduce this issue. And in the end, when we finish like debugging and finish fixing, we can write it as a scenario that we always test, and we test like this specific thing, and we can verify that historical issues by running this exact scenario on the old release or the release that is affected. So we not only hard code the fix in the code, we hard code reproduction. So I think that's a pretty like important principles that contributed to like success of robustness tests. So I think adopting it here might be also helpful. Okay, any other topics or questions we want to discuss before proceeding to like, basically discussing the same things but more focused on specific issues that we found? If not, we can go into bugs that we found from the last meeting. But before that, I wanted to tell what changed. So basically, since last meeting, we had 2 or even 3 great improvements by Nont. One was we have automated.
I think the first one is actually Joshua. No.
Oh, sorry.
I would love to.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. You're right. I totally.
No problem.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't look up, but it's been working great for last couple of weeks, and we have a lot of failures, or a lot of things that we have a lot of reports now. Like compared, before there was only one run every like couple of days when we changed something, and I run it manually. Now we have continuous failures, which means we have more data to browse and find, maybe correlate why how something happens. So that was if you look at this graph as a like no matter failed past, how many times we run, now like we have in this density. And that was me, or that was some period that we didn't make a lot of changes, so it was pretty quiet, and now we are running basic every day, which is great. More things, more ways to break etcd, or more ways to confirm what works. And now a change that was, I'm pretty sure Nont did it this time.
Yep.
uh, which is thanks to changes, or we started, all the bugs that we found is thanks to additional assertions that we added. I think we discussed in the previous meeting. Those assertions are now used by antithesis to guide the exploration. So we have new two types. I'm horrible at using the UI. So this is reflected in 40, like now 40 instead of 3, like 40 new reachable assertions, which are the previously used by etcd maintainers and even like precede me, that was defined by the original maintainers of etcd, places that were interesting from a correctness point of view, which are things like when we synchronize the wall file to the disk, after, before it, after it, things like that. So all of these now are confirmed to be explorable by antithesis and marked as interesting points, which should help finding more bugs, which is good if you look back like bugs, but hopefully we can reduce those. So that's on reachability, and this is based on, if you like, for the context, etcd has a Go failure library, which is our own implementation of fail point injection for the runtime. So we have, like, you basically write a comment in the code of the etcd or any other project, and if you use this library, you could dynamically modify this code to be injected fail point. For antithesis, we just use it as interest, like we just change it to assert reachable, which marks it as an interesting point, because like if etcd made and robustness test decided that this is worth injecting a fail point, we can mark it also for antithesis that this is interesting point. So that helped. Mostly, I think, I don't know if there was direct bugs from it, but definitely it confirmed that there are things like exchanging of snapshots that I wasn't sure that happens in antithesis. So it confirmed that we have full coverage of the code base, of at least and important parts. So this is like also very, very good. And the main thing that we started seeing the bugs and failures was from updating, also work by Nont to for verifies, or also one mechanism for correctness that maintainers, I think this time it was during my candidacy, so during my time we added a way to validate, to do assertions in the code base of etcd, and those assertions are, like, for Golang doesn't have a meta or how they call it, microcontroller, like in C++, like you can do compilation flags and not compile. Here we etcd supports setting an environment variable that will enable or disable or will enable those meta programming. So in Golang we always compile this code, but it's disabled by default, and this can be enabled by environment variable to make etcd assert additional things, which might be heavier, which that's why we disabled by default, but we use it in testing, especially end-to-end testing and robustness testing. So all those new things like that pop up. So like this is example of the old or assertion that existed for a long time. So it has longer history. All the shorter history is the new addition. So we test things like consistency index being up to date, bucket naming, consistent index advancing, like all those things. And those are assert always, because there is some logic that confirms that this is like returns you true false. So this is also great work by Nont. It took a little bit design and collaboration with other maintainers to decide how to best do that. But finally, this started giving us results in the forms of the bugs that I linked in the document. So let me go to them. Or basically, we have one bug based on link to report that shows that verification of index advancing has failed. I could add more, like to have more context and different approaches. I can add more reports, but I don't think it's needed necessarily in case of it's usually used in robustness. I don't think they're necessarily in here, because we can, with deterministics, we should be able to reproduce when we get the access. We found that consistent index is not equal to snapshot index, which is another one. And one thing that also was a nice present was that we additional of those new assertions made the antithesis exploration find a new linearization issue, technically, or at least unconfirmed, because it's very complicated. I don't have idea how we don't know how to reproduce it. We discussed breadcrumbs. So one of the nice things that was done by Benjamin, I just posted this issue when I found, I got excited, I posted it and made it public. And one of the great things with community is that Benjamin was very nice in extracting the information from the data. So basically saying, I mean, first criticizing me for not doing it myself, because maybe I should, but then showing what is the important parts from the report, what is the contents of the database. So here you can we have a documentation on robustness test, but here shows that how you can dump the database of etcd and the contents. If you wanted to ever look how it looks like, this is how it looks like. So for each separate etcd instance, so here is the etcd instance server server etcd0, server etcd1, server etcd2. So those are dumps from the free etcd instances, and then wall, or no, this is more metadata information this is meta. So this is the key information from the database. This is the metadata information, which is the meta page. Or no, this is the meta bucket. Sorry, this is a bucket that has metadata about etcd. Well, that's a big topic. Maybe we could discuss at some other time. What's the structure of etcd file? But if you know, you can read this, and this is how it. This is the contents, so you can start reading it and try to understand and maybe get a better knowledge of how etcd database work. And here's the logs. So the log. So here is the index of the changes, and we have the data from etcd0, etcd1, and etcd2. Interestingly, etcd this is empty. And suggestion of possible directions in investigation. So this is like the best case scenario of someone that has knowledge, usually a maintainer, doing a first view of the issue, like deciding what is important, what is not important, what is unusual, what is not unusual, and suggesting what we can do next. In the second issue, we have the same. But the main questions is I think even by Benjamin posted, we don't know how. We know what happened. etcd1 received a bad snapshot. We don't know what led to this happening. So there is questions: what kind of fail points are injected, and we know the list of everything that could happen. but we don't know what exactly happened. So I think that's the what leads to this exact issue. So I think we're still waiting, or we are waiting for this information. And here's the third issue that has uh, or might not be investigated yet. I think possibly. In fact, I just posted separate bugs because they are reported separately on antithesis and they're separate assertions. I haven't confirmed if there is any relation or correlation between issues. So it's possible those are assertions. So they could correlate or not, and we don't know at this moment. So I would need to read the comment by Benjamin if he thinks they're correlated. But this is like kind of things that we are doing. Like first thing, dump everything you have, and then try to miss and match things. So I
Oh, okay. So,
oh
quick
he
questions.
said this is the same issue as this. So maybe I think maybe it's worth I I would need to read and if to confirm, but if it's true, maybe it's worth to just mark as a duplicate because one like yeah I created issues based on test failures, but it doesn't mean there is a separate bug and separate root cause. When we find the root cause, maybe we'll find that same root cause leads to both issues or both assertions failing. And I think that's high level all from what happened. We discussed possibility of debugging it, but I don't think we'll have time to today. Maybe we can plan a screen share for the next meeting. But if not, maybe we can discuss any ongoing work or the next steps and next steps for the next meeting as we have 8 minutes left.
I think next step should be getting to all green reports.
That's
I yeah.
Yeah, I think having an all green report's really nice. So that way, if you ever see a red, you know to look at it. But right now, like, there's a couple of open, I guess, issues that we can investigate. There's the correctness property, which I'm gonna go see if I can suppress the exit code twos, which are not important at all, that have been just making it red. So I don't know. I think that might be an interesting one if you're up for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree. I think we reached a coverage or full coverage of antithesis to match robustness, like with the additional fail points. That was the last missing piece. There are still things that we can improve in both frameworks. I think like here I'm working with and hoping that Henry can like do some better, like testing of the watch and better like things. But there are no dedicated, like I don't think there is anything dedicated for antithesis that we could improve, because it's one-to-one what it's within what we wanted. We got what we wanted. We got a lot of bugs.
I think 19941 that can be closed now. Right. I think we covered all the API.
Oh yeah, we're done with it.
Oh, okay. So we merged this. You're saying that. Interesting. How many issues did we mention? Okay, get list and yeah. So interestingly, like adding more traffic didn't matter versus just adding fail points. So yeah, all right. We can close this one.
I think we also can close the instrumenting image.
Okay, I need to sign in. Yeah. And
I think this is a different issue. Sorry.
no, this is
I,
it is.
it's the
Open
yeah.
larger part of its the API. Correct me.
Oops.
No, I didn't close it. This is the okay. Yeah. And you mentioned a second issue, but
The instrumenting.
yes, perfect.
I think that's already done.
Or not all the things. Mm, okay, and there was a long issue about other type of instrumentation. Question. No, there's no issue. There was a discussion about our like idea to instrument also the test itself, but I don't have we done that. Maybe we done it. Yeah.
Oh,
Element.
to instrument the client or the work or the client container itself.
Yeah, well, maybe we can skip it for now. Okay. Any other suggestions? Most of those things are post with yeah. I think it looks good. So I don't know. Question: what do we do in meantime before we can, or is there anything we could or should do in the meantime before we have the debug information or breadcrumbs?
Maybe my question to Marcus is: are there any other additional thing we can do with antithesis?
There's a lot you could do. Maybe another would be running tests with multi versions or different number of nodes for the server. That could be an option. So like maybe just different configs.
I think for the different number of servers, we already have that.
Do we already have the one?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Yeah,
like the
I'm.
dynamically growing, we don't have that yet, I think, right? We don't have because we're using Compose to like as an orchestration to like set up the environment, so we cannot grow the cluster dynamically like from 1 to 3.
We can do upgrade tests. So we bring down a node and then bring up a node of a different version to replace it. That's something we've done in the past, but in order to do that, we require, I think it's 2 Docker Compose files. And so like I would have to get the specifics, but if you're interested in upgrade testing, that could be a next step that
So
we.
issue with etcd is that you cannot just do stateless replacement of
Okay.
containers. You
Yeah.
need to reconfigure it to tell, hey, like stop talking to those IPs, like forget about those members. So
Gotcha.
it's like you cannot do. It's not stateless. Like cluster information is is persistent and sticky. So we need to do manage cluster. Like I was a little bit reluctant to do that because it's basically mean that we need to write a runtime, like I know same like end-to-end like etcd end-to-end testing, that framework that etcd robustness test use. So basically something like dedicated binary that can manage etcd cluster. So basically let's write our own etcd distribution or operator that can dynamically change the cluster state. I mean, we do that a little bit because we need for testing, and we do that in robustness test, but it was much more. It was designed as a library, and I don't know.
I think we can have a look at that. Maybe we can use something like kind to add more, like have a Docker image that runs kind.
No, kind doesn't work on antithesis.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I think I saw a thread. It uses some other runtime that is not compatible with Docker. So kind is in Docker and only Docker, if I can remember correctly. Yeah. I mean, we can design it if it's an option. Maybe I wanted to do one plugin. I have talked with Craig about doing a blog post. So that would summarize the antithesis engagement that we would promote on the etcd blog post. I would be happy if you could leave feedback or collaborate, and we could, I know, give more testaments to the engagement, how it went, what went great, what went, I know, could be done better for future, but over like how, I know, I hope you still have a great you're here because still you have great fun like working on this. So I'm happy to or this is a little bit pre-wrote and a little bit generated by some model, but would be happy to get as much feedback and as many opinions of on your input as we can, because I think more people that would have wrote and contribute to or could be co-authors or contribute to the blog post, the voice would be louder and more coming from community, and not like I don't want to I think we all deserve like being part of the saying that we are part of this, and so that's why I would welcome you helping us to get it out and do it together. Yeah, so here is the blog post or PR. So I will just note that we want to consider dynamic cluster configuration. If someone wants to create an issue for that, we can start discussing. Feel free to do so. But like I said, I am a little bit scared of doing it because it's doing it within Docker Compose brings another layer of and indirection and might complicate things. So we need to get the design here right.
I can start the issue for that.
Mhm.
I'll reach out to you, Marcus, about how we like some initial ideas. Like I want to know what anti-thesis supports. But yeah,
Okay.
I can get the issue up.
Yeah, just ping me on Slack about anything.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for helping us with that, Joshua. So that's all from me for today. Sorry for being 5 minutes late. Any last comments before we close for today? No.
Nope.
All good for me.
Okay. Hope hope this or for me it was great meeting. Hope you had fun as well, and hope we will continue to make the etcd more reliable and utilize antithesis to make it perfect or as close to that. Thanks everyone. Hope to see you on the next meeting.
Amazing. Thank you, Mark.